Hi, this is Linda again. It's been over 3 months since I had my first procedure, and it's been a week since I had my second. This time I had the azygous and the sigmoid sinus veins checked and cleared. There were blockages, and an extra blockage that they didn't see the first time in the right jugular higher up was found, and that was also fixed. I'm feeling much better. I think that all the improvement from my first procedure probably plateaued at about 4 weeks. And then I realized that the heat intolerance and my lower legs and feet were probably not going to improve more than they had. This procedure did help with that significantly. If you remember, I couldn't feel my lower legs and feet very well. It was much better after the first procedure, but still the numbness was there. And this time, that's pretty much resolved. There's still some, and I'm still hoping for improvement there. My other problem was heat intolerance, and that was quite severe. It has been for a number of years since I've had MS. Very difficult to live with, having to use a vest all the time with ice in it, staying in air-conditioned places in the summer. It was hard. That has not seen 100% improvement still. However, it is much better. The heavy sweating that I was doing has resolved somewhat, and I am hoping that that's going to continue to improve as much as my legs. I had a little bit of a hearing problem with some pitches and tones. In other words, sometimes you could hear a woman's voice, but it's difficult to make out the tones of a child or an older person. And I had a few tones in there when people were speaking. I couldn't make out the words they were saying, and I didn't know whether or not that was related to MS, but that did clear up for me right away. I could hear the metal hitting metal when I was actually having the procedure done, and that was one of the areas that was hard for me to tell. It seemed to get noisier during the procedure when less people were actually in there, so I'm very thankful for that improvement. It seems that things are going better in many ways for people with CCSVI, and some things are not going so well. One of the problems that I hear a lot about is the people who go overseas to have this done and then come home and have no place to follow up. My own doctor has a problem with that because he feels a lot of people spent money to go overseas to have this done and then came home only to have nowhere to go if they re-stenosed. And this unfortunately has happened a lot. So I would encourage everyone to try to find doctors locally if at all possible, or at least in your country. It's not so far for my Canadian friends to come to the United States, but it's different having to go all the way overseas to do it and then have no one to follow up with. Everything else is doing well. I am just excited about the improvement. It couldn't be any better than it is now, and me expect anything else. I have all the improvement that I had wanted, more than I expected, and unless I should re-stenose, I would probably never need to go back. My doctor feels that this may be the future of MS. People may have to have a new procedure maybe every 6 months to a year, but still that would be far less expensive and traumatic than what we normally have to do for MS with the different tests and the drugs and so forth that we take. I think that this is a much better road. It has a much greater potential of living a normal life, and I feel like finally that's what I'm doing. I feel that there are some drawbacks to even being well, and that is, with me, I had MS for 15 years. I still have MS, but I was diagnosed 15 years ago. And my family had to learn to adapt. And when I was better again, it meant they had to adapt again. And so there are some difficulties with being well and being able to do for yourself, and the dynamics change within your friends and your family groups. So I would encourage anyone who's had it done to have someone to talk to about these feelings, maybe someone else who has had the procedure done. And I think it's the most important for ones who have perhaps had MS the longest, and the ones that had the most disability, and I would be one of those. So my life was totally changed by MS, and it's going to take time for me to get it back and feel like I belong the same place I belonged 15 years ago. I hope I didn't make that too confusing, because it's very dear to my heart, and it's hard for me to express it when I know that so many people are going to be watching this. I also want you to know that I'm no longer endorsing any websites. I feel they have their place, but no longer for me. I stay on the internet, but I feel that some of these websites are not what I thought they were, and so that's why I'm not wearing the shirt, and I'm not saying anything about going there for information. There is all the information in the world on the net, and there are a lot of people working with that. There are some wonderful websites that are mostly informational, and they are wonderful to go to for CCSVI. But there are others that are more socially active, and the better information is probably not in those places. I want to thank everyone who has supported me and sent me so many nice emails and private messages. There are so many people that I've gotten to know closely, and I've never seen in person, but I talk to them often on the phone or on the internet, on Facebook and other places, and they are all doing so well, and I am so glad for the ones that are getting this done and don't have to wait any longer. And I hope the time will come very soon that no one has to wait. If you have it and you want to have the procedure done for CCSVI, then I think everyone should be able to do that. It is, if you had a blockage anywhere else in your body and you didn't have MS, there wouldn't be a problem. It just is not a neurological problem. It only becomes one when the autoimmune becomes part of it, and I think that happens after CCSVI, not before. But I'm not a doctor, but that's my own feeling with just some of the research and talking with my own interventional radiologist. This will probably be my last video, but I will be around, and I wish all of you the best, and I hope that the MS societies in Canada and the United States would realize that we are more important than the fundraising and the other things that they do. The patients are supposed to be the ones who receive the benefits, and I don't see a lot of that happening, and I'm hoping that that is going to change. And I thank you again for your time.